And it could even get weirder, where there's two demonic entities possessing you and your physical companion that have a vendetta against one another, because the frequency and the dynamic of the relationships match up. Alright, hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to talk about compassion. The importance of compassion, the relevance, the necessity of having compassion for ourselves, for one another, for all of life, to be the best stewards and stewardesses and caretakers of this life that we can be, which is really what we're here to learn. We're not here to learn anything else, but ultimately how to be and become that. And it just so happens to be that Earth is this wild, wacky place where we get to, experience a whole bunch of different stuff and have as much fun as we possibly want. So I'm going to talk about a specific we're going to take a specific route, a specific avenue today in terms of compassion. This is one that deeply and greatly needs to be addressed. I could just flat out say it, but I don't want you to pick up a heavy weight with this term. Just take it as it is, take it lightly. Demonic possession. Dark spirits, entities, being possessed, having them attached to your own spirit. Because first and foremost, everything is a spirit. The thoughts we think are spirits. Whatever we're creating, whether it's a piece of art or writing, it's all a spirit. We're creating it. We're channeling this entity through whatever it is that we're creating. And so all things are spirit. Everything is spirit. And so there's a place called limbo, where I'm sure most of you have heard of, where souls go and they kind of just hang because they have a lot of emotional baggage, a lot of emotional weight, a lot of trauma, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment. They want revenge. They're mad at God. They have just a whole baggage of trauma that needs to be healed. Now, a lot of souls in limbo will attach themselves to people who are living, to living souls, so that they can continue experiencing patterns of addiction and getting what they feel is fulfillment or even safety and comfort, as opposed to true freedom, which is being able to ascend. Now, here's where it gets, we come down to earth with spirituality. We get a little bit more grounded. We get a little bit more real. A lot of people want to just view spirituality as like ascending to the light. It's all bliss. It's all light. It's all beauty and love. And yeah, ultimately, that's kind of the goal, right? Like, we want to be able to transmute all the lower frequencies into love. But let's just get real. In order to actually do that, we got to face the nitty gritty. We got to kind of get down and dirty. And we got to face what most people believe is not fair or not right. And evil, right? Even if it is, even if you do have like an evil entity or demonic spirit kind of possessing your life and kind of running the show from behind the scenes in the shadows of your psyche, because you don't put your awareness on it. Why? Because it's evil. That's bad. That's bad territory. I shouldn't go, It's like, that's very childish. It's very childish to view these old lower paradigm sort of like ethical and moral values around good and bad, right and wrong, what you should do and shouldn't do, who's worthy and unworthy. I tell you, when you start dissecting situations with mystic wisdom and compassion and love, with the higher purpose of transcending lower frequencies, negativity, and illusions into spiritual freedom, anything that's kind of cobwebby, anything that's a little blurry or confusing, will piece by piece, as long as you keep your aim straight, will get sorted out, will clear. The water will clear, the dirt will settle, and through that whole alchemical process, through the cycles of your life, things will start making more and more sense. Evil's greatest weapon is one of them is confusion, right? Is confusion, a lack of clarity, a belief of being stuck, a belief of being trapped, a belief of being dealt the shit end of the stick, and God dealing you a certain set of cards without having access to anything else. That's the lower paradigm. That's the egoic illusions. That's the kind of physical reality entrapment and what makes life feel like a prison. But again, all darkness, all illusions, all entrapment, all soul lessons tied up in these egoic patterns of fear are designed to sort of push you to seek for more. Now, I had this conversation with a neighbor not long ago, that I believe that we're here to learn something that we couldn't elsewhere. We're like learning soul lessons and how to master energy. And how could we ever do that if we didn't have the contrast of what feels like a prison or a trap in order to transcend it and reclaim the power of our spirit to be able to consciously create the direction of our life? So back to what I was saying about entities possessing your energy body, demonic possession, and everything like this, and the souls in limbo. So here's where it gets really interesting. You can have a soul in limbo that will attach to you, say when you're a child, because you might have a family member or someone around you that this entity wants revenge against. And it could even get weirder, where there's two demonic entities possessing you and your physical companion that have a vendetta against one another, because the frequency and the dynamic of the relationships match up. So it can get really blurry, it can get really confusing and cause a lot of grief around relationships. Now, that's not saying I'm blaming this entity. Here's where I'm getting at with these entities being on you. In order to really be the best steward or stewardess, right, and caretaker for the planet, for our lives, for one another that we can be, is to take personal responsibility, have self-accountability, and let go of the distractions, the avoidance, all the noise of this earthly realm, and kind of buckle down, kind of focus in and lock in on these very real things. These things are more real than what we see out here with our eyes and can feel with our hands. Okay, for real. Because spirit is more real than anything that's dense and physical. So what you want to do is realize that you get to a point in your relationships where you've already gone down the list of options. Like, you've already stepped back, you've already weighed these options on how to counterattack, how to defeat this situation. And it boils down to the simple fact. This is another example of how the universe is a closed circuit system. That has several different meanings, but in this scenario, it means that built into the problem is the solution. So whatever your problem is, once you go deep enough and hit the root, you're going to find the solution. And this is where the love and the compassion comes in as the solution. Through your own love, through your own dedication, like I mentioned, buckling down and getting serious about what's going on inside of you, and then prioritizing. Really, it's about prioritizing your highest good, the highest good of the planet. Your whole life rearranges because your priorities change, your lifestyle upgrades. Everything begins clicking. There's less confusion, less clutter, less negative patterns that you don't want to be experiencing anymore. Because you're getting your ducks in a row, to speak. In order to get your ducks in a row, you have to realize that they're here, there, and everywhere. 99.9% of the time, love and compassion is always the answer. It's not trying to manipulate, because if you try to rationalize, is compassion appropriate in this situation? Is compassion rational in this situation? Is it the logical option? And it's like, there's the mistake. You don't want to use logic and ration, because or rationality, because look at what that's led us so far. Look to where that's led us. So this is where you have to realize, oh my God, compassion and love in some form or another actually is the solution. Now I'm going to have to be brave and daring and bold enough to stand on this. So in this situation, if it's like something that you're dealing with, a negative pattern within you, anger, hatred, envy, jealousy, you're beating yourself up, talking negatively to yourself, negative beliefs about yourself, you have to, in that moment, even if you're about to boil over, you got to find a way to expel the energy in a way that's maybe goofy or light or fun. Like in that heat of that moment, you got to choose to transmute that energy and choose to channel it in a different way. I'm going to tell you why. Because once you do that, your brain said, oh my God, now I see a new signal of a different pathway out. And that's going to begin training your mind to respond in a more healthy way to the emotions that get triggered within you. Our emotions are tied to egoic stories, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be experiencing it. It means that we are aware of it, we recognize it, and then we choose how to respond instead of react. Now, when you choose to fill yourself with love, when you get emotionally triggered, in other words, that's like showing this entity that has a lot of hatred or a lot of resentment in it that's playing out through your own patterns. You want to show this being that they have love, that there's something more within them. You want to teach them how to be free through your own trauma patterns. Because once you cleanse your own energy with love and awareness and the aligned action, it begins to cleanse and purify your energy, and then they can move on and continue ascending to the light. It's like, whoa, all of a sudden we're like, what? We're dealing with entities? Like, I have spirits in me? It's like, yeah, a lot of people have quite a few. Some people don't, and I think the more aware that you become, the more conscious you become about what's going on inside of you, and then how you start choosing to respond, how you prioritize your life, how you start moving differently and thinking higher and deeper and thinking bigger. That should be your first priority. Your overall wellness, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, should be every person's number one priority. Because when you take care of your life, life will take care of you. It's no longer, and it's like, it's like when your parents tell you have a chore when you're a child and you're like, I don't want to do it, I want to sit on the computer, or I want to watch TV. Believe me, you will have that feeling when in the first beginning stages of rearranging your life and adjusting your lifestyle, because you're no longer numbing out. You're no longer checking out. You're no longer choosing to avoid it or distract. And yeah, that might feel like breaking out of a shell. That might feel like breaking out of something that's been keeping you stuck. Like, it might be painful. Like, you might not want to do it, but you have to do it. If you want to change your life and help improve the world, if you want to actually have the desire within you to help care for others and improve the world, then you have to break out of the illusions and enter more freedom of love, more freedom of acceptance and understanding and compassion. And it's not an overnight thing. Usually it's not a one and done. It's a practice in itself, which then becomes a lifestyle. So, when you take care of your life, life takes care of you. Thank you for liking today's video. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel and join the community to continue receiving guidance as you reclaim your divinity and step into your soul purpose at this pivotal time on the planet.